Have you noticed that people seem more skeptical today than ever before? A business makes a promise, and people question it. A marketer shares advice, and people doubt it. A company launches a new product, and many buyers immediately assume there's a catch. And honestly, this didn't happen overnight, because trust has been quietly changing for years. At first, marketing helped people discover products, services, and opportunities they might never have found otherwise. And when done well, it created awareness, it created interest, and it created trust. But somewhere along the way, something started changing. People became overwhelmed with promises, overwhelmed with advertisements, overwhelmed with experts claiming to have the perfect solution. Now every platform is filled with marketing messages competing for attention. And after seeing the same patterns repeatedly, people naturally became more skeptical. Because when trust is broken often enough, the brain starts protecting itself. Now something interesting happens. Even honest businesses face resistance. Even valuable products face doubt. Even legitimate expertise gets questioned. Not because people hate marketing, but because they have learned to be cautious. This is why many businesses feel frustrated today. They improve their offers, they create better content, they provide real value, and yet, earning trust feels harder than it used to. Because modern marketing is no longer competing only for attention, it's competing for belief. And that is a much harder battle to win. If you've ever felt like people are becoming harder to convince, harder to engage, or harder to trust, you're not imagining it. And in this video, we're going to break down why trust in marketing has declined, what changed in audience behavior, and why some businesses still earn trust while others struggle. Because once you understand this, you stop asking why people are so skeptical and start understanding what trust actually requires in today's digital world. One of the biggest reasons trust feels harder to earn today is that the internet completely changed how people evaluate information. And honestly, this change has affected almost every industry. Years ago, most buying decisions happened through a much smaller circle of influence. People trusted local businesses, personal recommendations, established brands, direct experiences. Information moved more slowly. And because information moves slowly, trust often had more time to develop. But then the internet changed everything. Suddenly, anyone could publish content. Anyone could share advice. Anyone could present themselves as an expert. And at first, this felt incredibly empowering. More information became available. More opportunities appeared. More voices entered the conversation. But over time, something unexpected started happening. The amount of information grew much faster than people's ability to verify it. Now audiences face an entirely different reality. Every day they encounter opinions, advertisements, recommendations, testimonials, predictions, promises from people they've never met. And after years of exposure, skepticism naturally increased. Because when people repeatedly encounter information that feels exaggerated, misleading, or incomplete, they begin protecting themselves. Not by trusting more, but by trusting less. This is why modern audiences often approach new claims with caution, even when those claims are true, because trust is no longer being evaluated in a low information environment. It's being evaluated inside an environment flooded with competing messages. And honestly, this is one of the biggest changes marketers often underestimate. People are not only asking, "Is this interesting?" They're also asking, "Can I actually believe this?" Because in today's digital world, information is everywhere, but trust remains limited. And that is exactly why earning trust has become one of the most valuable advantages a business can have. One of the biggest reasons trust has become harder to earn is that expertise has become much easier to imitate. And honestly, this creates a challenge for both audiences and honest businesses. Years ago, becoming recognized as an expert often required visible experience. People built reputation slowly. They developed trust over time. And their credibility was usually connected to a track record that others could observe. But today, the internet allows anyone to present themselves professionally. A polished website, a well-designed social profile, a few confident posts, a strong personal brand. And suddenly, expertise can appear much larger than the experience behind it. Now something important starts happening. Audiences begin seeing similar claims everywhere. Everyone has a system. Everyone has a framework. Everyone has a secret strategy. Everyone promises results. And after seeing these patterns repeatedly, people become more cautious. Because from the audience perspective, it becomes difficult to separate real expertise from impressive presentation. This doesn't mean expertise disappeared. Far from it, there are still highly skilled professionals creating tremendous value. But the challenge is that expertise now competes with the appearance of expertise. And those are not the same thing. This is why modern audiences often hesitate before believing new claims. They've learned that confidence alone does not guarantee competence, and visibility alone does not guarantee credibility. This is why experienced businesses focus so heavily on proof, not just promises, because trust today is rarely earned through claims alone. It is earned through consistency, evidence, and real-world results over time. And honestly, the more audiences see people presenting themselves as experts, the more valuable genuine credibility becomes. Because in today's digital world, looking like an expert is easier than ever. Proving expertise is what truly builds trust. One of the biggest mistakes marketers make is assuming that skepticism is always a problem. And honestly, many times, skepticism is simply a response to experience. Because audiences didn't become cautious overnight. They learned it. Over years of interacting with marketing messages, over years of seeing promises that didn't match reality, over years of hearing guaranteed results, easy success, quick solutions, perfect systems that often failed to deliver what people expected. Now something important starts happening. The audience begins creating mental filters, not because they want to reject everything, but because they want to avoid being disappointed again. This is how skepticism develops. A person sees enough exaggerated claims, and they become more cautious. A person follows enough bad advice, and they become more selective. A person buys enough disappointing products, and they begin questioning promises more carefully. And eventually, skepticism becomes a form of self-protection. This is why many businesses struggle today. Not because their offer is bad, not because their product lacks value, but because they are entering a marketplace where trust must be earned before belief happens. And that process takes time. This is why experienced marketers understand something important. Trust is not created by saying more. Trust is created by proving more. Because modern audiences have learned to separate promises from proof, claims from evidence, attention from credibility, and honestly, that may be one of the healthiest changes happening online. Because in a world filled with endless information, skepticism helps people slow down and think more carefully. And for businesses, that means trust can no longer be assumed. It must be consistently earned. One of the biggest changes happening in marketing today is the explosion of AI-generated content. And honestly, the technology itself is not the problem. AI can help businesses create content faster. It can improve productivity. It can help people communicate ideas more efficiently. But something important started happening. Once AI became widely available, the amount of content being produced increased dramatically. Now almost anyone can create articles, social posts, emails, videos, marketing campaigns at a scale that was difficult to imagine just a few years ago. And at first, this seemed like a huge advantage. More content, more information, more opportunities to reach audiences. But over time, a different challenge emerged. Because while content became easier to create, trust did not become easier to earn. In fact, for many businesses, it became harder. Because audiences started seeing more content that sounded similar. The same advice, the same frameworks, the same promises, the same language patterns, and eventually, much of the content started feeling interchangeable. Now, something important happens psychologically. When people encounter similar messages repeatedly, they stop paying attention as carefully. And when everything starts sounding the same, trust becomes harder to build. Not because AI created bad content, but because abundance reduces perceived uniqueness. This is why experienced businesses are becoming more focused on authenticity, not just content volume, because in today's environment, creating more content is easier than ever. But creating content that feels genuinely human, credible, and trustworthy has become much more valuable. And honestly, the businesses that win long-term will not be the ones creating the most content. They will be the ones creating the most believable content. One of the biggest misunderstandings in modern marketing is believing that attention and trust are the same thing. And honestly, they couldn't be more different. Because getting attention is often much easier than earning trust. A strong headline can get attention. A bold claim can get attention. A shocking statement can get attention. And sometimes, attention arrives very quickly, but trust works differently. Trust develops more slowly. It requires consistency. It requires credibility. And most importantly, it requires people to believe that your actions match your promises. Now, something important starts happening. Many businesses become extremely good at attracting attention. They learn how to increase clicks. They learn how to improve reach. They learn how to capture curiosity. But when the audience looks deeper, trust is often missing. And that's where problems begin. Because attention can create interest, but trust creates commitment. Attention can generate a click, but trust generates a customer. Attention can make people notice you. Trust is what makes them stay. This is why some brands grow quickly and disappear just as fast. They mastered attention, but never built trust. Meanwhile, other businesses grow more slowly. Yet their audiences remain loyal. Their recommendations carry weight, and their customers return repeatedly because they invested in trust, not just visibility. This is why experienced marketers understand something important. Attention gets people through the door. Trust is what keeps them inside. And honestly, in today's digital world, attention is becoming easier to buy. But trust remains something that must be earned, which is exactly why trust has become one of the most valuable assets a business can build. As trust becomes harder to earn, something interesting starts happening. Authenticity becomes more valuable. And honestly, this is one of the biggest shifts happening in marketing today. Because audiences are becoming better at recognizing patterns. They've seen the exaggerated promises. They've seen the recycled advice. They've seen the polished marketing messages repeated over and over again. And after a while, people stop responding the same way. Now something important changes. Instead of asking, who sounds the most impressive? Audiences increasingly ask, who feels the most believable? And those are very different questions. Because authenticity is not about being perfect. It's not about having the best production quality. And it's not about knowing all the answers. Authenticity is about alignment. The message matches the reality. The promises match the experience. The brand behaves consistently over time. And when people see that consistency, trust starts growing naturally. This is why many smaller creators and businesses are still succeeding today. Not because they have bigger budgets, not because they publish more content, but because they feel more human, more relatable, more genuine. And in a marketplace where skepticism is increasing, authenticity becomes a competitive advantage. Because trust is rarely built through perfection. Most of the time, trust is built through honesty, consistency, and credibility. This is why experienced businesses focus less on appearing flawless and more on being believable. Because in today's digital world, people don't just want information. They want confidence that the information can be trusted. And honestly, the brands that understand this are often the ones building the strongest long-term relationships with their audiences. One of the biggest differences between trusted brands and struggling brands is not marketing budget. And honestly, it's not always better products either. Many businesses have excellent products. Many businesses provide real value, yet some earn trust consistently while others struggle. Because trusted brands think differently. Most businesses focus heavily on attention. How do we get more clicks? How do we get more reach? How do we get more visibility? And those questions matter. But trusted brands ask a different question first. How do we become easier to believe? Because they understand something important. Attention creates opportunities. Trust creates outcomes. This changes how they communicate. They make fewer exaggerated promises. They focus more on clarity. They rely more on proof. They think long-term instead of chasing short-term reactions. And over time, that consistency compounds. Customers become advocates. Recommendations become easier. Credibility becomes stronger. Now something powerful starts happening. The brand no longer needs to convince people constantly because trust has already reduced resistance. This is why trusted brands often appear more stable during difficult markets. Not because challenges disappear, but because trust creates resilience. And honestly, this is one of the most overlooked advantages in modern marketing. Because attention can be rented, but trust has to be built. And once it is built, it becomes one of the most valuable assets a business can own. After everything we've discussed in this video, one thing should be clear: the real reason trust feels harder to earn today is not because marketing stopped working. And honestly, it's not because audiences suddenly became negative. The real change is that people have become more careful about what they believe. Because every day, they are exposed to endless advertisements, expert opinions, business claims, success stories, marketing promises, and after years of seeing those messages repeatedly, trust became more valuable, not less. This is why attention alone is no longer enough. A business can get views, a brand can get clicks, a creator can get reach, but none of those automatically create belief. Because while attention can be captured quickly, trust has to be earned over time. This is why the businesses succeeding long-term are often not the loudest. They're the most believable. They focus on consistency, credibility, proof, authenticity, because they understand something many businesses miss. People are not looking for more marketing. They're looking for confidence. Confidence that the advice is real. Confidence that the product delivers. Confidence that the business can be trusted. And once you understand that, marketing starts looking very different. Because the goal is no longer just attracting attention. The goal is becoming believable. Now, if this video helped you understand why trust has become one of the most valuable assets in modern marketing, make sure to explore the other videos already available on the channel as well. We've been breaking down marketing psychology, audience behavior, content visibility, meta ads realities, and the hidden forces shaping digital marketing today. Because once you understand how attention, trust, and human behavior work together, marketing becomes much easier to understand. Thanks for watching, stay connected, and I'll see you in the next video.